who resigned as a senior advisor to US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo last week, is next in line to be questioned in the presidential impeachment inquiry. On Tuesday, a senior State Department official in charge of Ukraine policy testified before the committee. George Kent was questioned about his knowledge of Trump's efforts to have Ukraine investigate his political rival Joe Biden. Now, Democrats are accusing the Trump administration of stonewalling the inquiry. Well, the head of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, says evidence of obstruction of Congress continues to mount.
We are running into what we expected in one aspect, and that is a complete effort by the administration to stonewall. Today is long past due, the date when the State Department was subpoenaed to provide documents. But the State Department has thus far refused. And were it not for the fact that at least some witnesses have given us documents, we would not know that there is a paper record of efforts to condition this meeting and perhaps condition military support itself on these political investigations Donald Trump wanted.
Well, Michael Isikoff is chief investigative correspondent at Yahoo News and co-author of Russian Roulette. Welcome to the program, Michael.
Good to be here.
You did write the book Russian Roulette, which of course dealt with the so-called Russiagate and the Mueller inquiry. And I'm just wondering if you draw a line from that to what we're seeing here and the impact on Donald Trump politically. Does any of this ultimately touch him or affect his political base?
Well, yes, and there is a direct line from the Russia story to the Ukraine scandal going on right now. Just go back and look at the transcript of the phone call between President Trump and President Zelensky. What is the first matter that Trump raises after he says, I want you to do me a favor? He wants Zelensky to look into supposed Ukrainian interference in the 2016
which of course reminds
election.
us of the attempt to get people to investigate Hillary Clinton.
Of course, and you know he wants the Ukrainians to find the server that was used at the DNC. The only purpose of that is because President Trump is still unable to accept the findings of the U.S. intelligence community, the U.S. law enforcement community, the Congress, the Robert Mueller investigation, that it was the Russians who hacked the DNC. That's why he's obsessed about this server. He thinks somehow that's going to refute all the conclusions of all the agencies that have investigated this.
But when he says, this is a witch hunt, this is a Democrats' coup, people listening to him, his political base, those who are rusted on and are going to vote for him, those who put him in the White House, are they saying, yes, of course it is?
Look, I think the polls are going to be extremely important here as this goes forward. We've already seen an increasing number of Americans, according to the polls, who support at least that impeachment inquiry. It's now over 50%. That's a pretty substantial increase, and it suggests that the tide is turning somewhat against the president. Whether it's going to be enough to sustain impeachment and removal, we'll just have to wait and see. But it's clearly the evidence has been mounting here.
Well, impeachment and removal is a high bar because, of course, then you're talking about the Senate and two-thirds of the Senate, and that's that could be a step too far. But is what we are seeing in these hearings right now a really critical development in that it isn't Democrats who are raising alarms here. It's people like Fiona Hill. She worked for him. He's Russia expert. It's people like John Bolton, National Security Advisor. It's the former ambassador to Ukraine. These are people inside the tent. Does that shift the narrative somewhat?
I think somewhat. If you remember that the president tried to make this about the whistleblower. Who's the whistleblower? Did he have a political agenda? But when you see this parade of witnesses, Fiona Hill, Mr. Kent, some of the others, I think that shifts it away from the whistleblower and puts it on, career people who don't have political agendas, who are working for the president, like the former ambassador who was removed. Those
John
are
Bolton,
powerful witnesses.
Now, I should behind scenes.
Right.
Can I just ask you, just before we go though, about how this plays out with the Democrats? particularly as we see the debates continue, and obviously there's unified position on wanting to push ahead with the impeachment and these investigations, but what effect does it have on Joe Biden? Is this some lead in his saddlebags, if you like? As he
well, I
continues to
think it
campaign?
is. I think he continues to get asked about his son's service on that board of the company Burisma, while Biden was serving as the point person for the Obama administration. I think this clearly has wounded Biden. Elizabeth Warren is now almost universally seen as the front runner in the race, where 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, Biden was. So I think it's taking its toll. I should just want to make one other point. We've talked about these hearings. Remember, so far they've all been behind closed doors. And I think that's given the Republicans a talking point. And at some point, Schiff is going to have to open up, release the transcripts of those depositions and hold public hearings if he wants to make the case, if the Democrats want to make the case that impeachment has to take place here.
Michael, a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you
Anytime.
again.